Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pitt County's Back to School Education Day. Today, we're going to be talking about accommodating students with special dietary needs, which we also now refer to as unique mealtime needs. The basic intent of statute and regulations is to ensure that children with disabilities have access to program benefits. In the case of school nutrition programs, this means that substitutions to the reimbursable meal must be made for children who are unable to eat at school because of their disabilities. So the word substitution is used because, for the most part, accommodations under the school meal programs will involve replacing one food with another, although this will not always be the case. Meeting the needs of the children with disabilities presents school nutrition staff with new challenges and situations. It is important that your school nutrition managers and parents be involved in the outset and be proactive instead of reactive. 3 federal legislative acts mandate that school nutrition programs will serve children with special dietary needs because of their disabilities. These 3 acts include Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Individuals with Disabilities Act, the IDEA, and the Americans with Disability Act. We also need to remind you that children with disabilities are not subject to the meal pattern. In case of the children with special needs, that we will follow the physician's statement, which is also going to be the medical statement that will be submitted to managers, and directors will have a copy of that, as well as their IEP, their individual education plan. The term disability is broad and inclusive. The changes demonstrated Congress's intent to restore the broad scope of the Americans with Disabilities Act by making it easier for an individual to establish that he or she has a disability. Congress intends the term disability to be just that, broad and inclusive. Most physical and mental impairments constitute a disability. Any person who is authorized to write medical prescriptions under the state law qualifies as a state licensed healthcare professional. Licensed physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistants are also recognized as medical authorities. The IDEA imposes requirements on states which may affect them, including the service of meals, even when such service is not required by the school meals program. For example, the Individual Education Program, IEP, developed for a child under the IDEA may require a breakfast to be served in a school that does not participate in the school breakfast program. While these meals may not be claimed for federal reimbursement because a school does not participate in the program, funds from the nonprofit school food service account may be used to cover the costs associated with providing a meal required by IDEA or the student's individual plan. Schools should focus on working collaboratively with parents to ensure an equal opportunity to participate in the school meals programs and receive program benefits. Determining a disability should no longer require extensive analysis. Most physical and mental impairments will constitute a disability. The central concern for school food authorities should be ensuring equal opportunity to participate in or benefit from the program. Major life activities are broadly defined and include, but are certainly not limited to, caring for oneself, performing manual tasks, seeing, hearing, eating, sleeping, walking, standing, lifting, bending, speaking, breathing, learning, reading, concentrating, thinking, communicating, and working. Major life activities also include the operation of a major bodily function, included but not limited to functions of the immune system, normal cell growth, digestive, bowel, bladder, neurological, brain, respiratory, circulatory, endocrine, and reproductive functions. A physical or mental impairment need not be life-threatening to constitute a disability. The current North Carolina Department of Public Instruction medical statement template remains available on the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction website. This medical statement will be under review over the next year, or if there are significant changes, school food authorities will be informed. This document contains all the necessary information required by the United States Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Services regulations. This document, however, is not mandatory to use. If the SFA chooses to not use the Department of Public Instruction's medical statement, all required information must be captured on the form or documents that are used. School food authorities may consider taking steps to design a meal plan within the program meal pattern to accommodate common disabilities, such as diabetes. Meals that do not meet program meal patterns are not eligible for reimbursement unless they are supported by a medical statement or an IEP. This slide shows how medical statement requirements have changed over the past few years. The areas struck through on this slide represent the required wording from the previous medical statement requirements. Used to, we would have to include the disability on the medical statement. Now that is no longer required, just a description of the child's physical or mental impairment. We must also include an explanation of what must be done to accommodate the disability. We now should include foods to be omitted from the child's diet along with recommended alternatives. Many people should be involved in planning for the needs of the student. Some of the people listed on this slide may be included in the healthcare team for a student. These members may include family, instructional staff, school nutrition program staff, school nurse, therapist, school administrator, community providers, or even peers. All school staff should receive training or continuing education regarding food allergies and emergency response by the school or district nurse. You may also choose to invite parents or guardians of students with food allergies to be involved. They can provide firsthand knowledge about their experience with food allergies. All on this slide, as well as substitute teachers, volunteers, and even field trip chaperones, should also be educated on how to respond to food allergy emergencies. Safety and sanitation are extremely important. You want to prepare your meals as close to service time as possible and avoiding holding the foods too long since they lose quality very quickly, as well as the risk of foodborne illness increases. Consider color, flavor, smells. All of these sensory triggers encourage consumption of nutrient-dense, healthy food items. Avoid the temperature danger zone. This would be 40 degrees to 135 degrees, as this is the zone that bacteria flourishes and grows fast and furious. Wash and sanitize equipment and utensils when changing products to avoid cross-contamination. We'll talk a little bit more later about cross-contamination versus cross-contact. Sanitize blender and all equipment after each use. Mealtime for students with unique mealtime needs should be in the least restrictive environment. Some interesting food allergy facts and statistics. Researchers estimate that up to 15 million Americans may have food allergies. This potentially deadly disease affects 1 in every 13 children under 18 years of age in the United States. That's roughly 2 in every classroom. The economic cost of children's food allergies is nearly $25 billion per year. Among children with food allergies, 16 to 18% have experienced some sort of reaction at school. Children with food allergies are 2 to 4 times more likely to have other related conditions such as asthma and other allergies compared with children who do not have food allergies. Reactions are primarily caused by food used in class projects and celebrations. About 79% of reactions that have taken place in school have taken place in the classroom, and about 12% of reactions on school campus have taken place in the lunchroom. 25% of reactions occur in those with no previously known allergy. Food allergies among children increased by 50% between 1997 and 2011, according to a 2013 study released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Food allergies are on the rise. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that the prevalence of food allergy in children increased by 50% between 1997 and 2011. Between 1997 and 2008, the prevalence of peanut or tree nut allergy appears to have more than tripled in United States children. Food allergy reactions are serious and can be life-threatening. Every 3 minutes, a food allergy reaction sends someone to the emergency room. The Food and Allergy Research Education also reports that each year in the United States, 200,000 people require emergency medical care for allergic reactions to food. Childhood hospitalizations for food allergy tripled between the late 1990s and mid-2000s. More than 40% of children with food allergies and more than half of adults with food allergies have experienced a severe allergic reaction such as anaphylaxis. Medical procedures to treat anaphylaxis resulting from food allergy increased by 380% between 2007 and 2016. The Food Allergy Research and Education also report that starting January 1st, 2023, sesame will become the 9th major allergen that must be labeled in plain language on packaged foods in the United States. While some manufacturers may begin labeling for sesame sooner, they are not required to do so. We still include the other 8: eggs, milk, fish, wheat, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, and soy. Unexpected food allergens can be found in non-food items such as modeling clay and paper mache, which may contain wheat, crayons, which may contain soy, shaving cream, which may contain milk, finger paints, which may contain milk or egg whites, and soaps that may contain wheat, dairy, soy, or nut extracts. Have your district and school allergy plans and procedures up to date and ready to go. Peanut-free schools or areas or rooms may create a false sense of security. You want to focus on strategies to reduce accidental exposure. Choose allergen-safe tables or classrooms. Those might be options versus school-wide bans. Reaction procedures should be well known by all faculty and staff in case of an emergency. Formulations can change frequently of products. Read every label every time. Ingredients may differ between different sizes of the same product, food service pack versus, say, supermarket, or among brands and suppliers. Don't rely too solely on safe lists. We always want to check the ingredients labels for allergens. Okay, let's look at cross-contact versus cross-contamination. Cross-contact is when an allergen accidentally transfers from a food containing an allergen to a food or surface that does not contain the allergen. This will then cause that allergen to be on whatever food you may be preparing. Cooking will not reduce or eliminate the allergen. Now, when looking at cross-contamination, generally that deals with microorganisms from different sources that may contaminate foods during preparation and storage. Cooking does reduce or eliminate microorganisms. Now let's discuss the removal of the protein, which is what causes an allergic reaction. To effectively remove the food protein from surfaces, wash surfaces with soap and water. The Food and Allergy Research Education also says that simply wiping. Okay, let's discuss removing the protein. The Food and Allergy Research Education states that to effectively remove food protein from surfaces, wash surfaces with soap and water. Simply wiping the crumbs from spatulas, cookie sheets, cutting boards, or other surfaces is not enough. To be safe, purchase a cutting board, plates, and kitchen utensils that will be used for allergy-free foods only. Store these items in a designated area. Studies have shown that conventional cleaning methods are effective in removing the protein of a food allergen, such as a peanut. Bar and liquid soap are effective for removing protein from your hands, while alcohol-based sanitizer is not, according to a study published in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. That study also showed that soaps and commercial cleaning agencies effectively remove peanut proteins from tabletops, while just dishwashing liquid alone did not. 1 tablespoon of concentrated bleach per gallon of water at normal room temperature is a standard for cleaning food preparation surfaces. Hotter water temperatures decrease the effectiveness of bleach solutions. Putting the solution in a spray bottle is convenient for traveling. Allow the surface to air dry after sanitizing. The effectiveness of bleach solution diminishes over time. Now, we discussed cleaning to remove a protein, and we discussed with using bleach to sanitize. Sanitize does not denature the protein of an allergen. So in order to properly clean the surface of an allergen, we must use soap and water. What is cross-contact? Cross-contact happens when one food comes in contact with another food and their proteins mix. As a result, each food then contains small amounts of the other food. These amounts are so small they usually cannot be seen. Even this tiny amount of food protein has caused reactions in people with food allergies. Okay, and looking at cross-contamination, why don't we use the term cross-contamination when discussing allergens? Well, cross-contamination usually refers to bacteria or viruses that get on food and make it unsafe to eat. In cross-contamination, cooking the food will lower the chance of a person getting sick. This is not the same with food allergies and cross-contact. Cooking does not remove an allergen from a food. The only way to stop you from having a reaction is to avoid the food and carefully clean anything that it came in contact with using soap and water. Many schools use colored cutting boards. This may mitigate the risk of cross-contamination. You may see your red cutting boards and use those for raw meat, or your green cutting boards you would use for salad and fruit, maybe brown for vegetables that you will be cooking. Let's talk about a few examples of cross-contact. So let's say a knife has been used to spread peanut butter, and it's only wiped off before using to spread, let's say, mayonnaise for another sandwich. There could absolutely be enough protein from the peanut remaining on the knife to cause a reaction in a person who has a food allergy or a peanut allergy. All equipment and utensils must be cleaned with hot, soapy water before being used to prepare allergen-free foods. Even a trace of food on a spoon or a spatula that is even invisible to us could cause a reaction. Now, FAIR also gives us some other examples from this nice table. Direct cross contact could come from if you put cheese on a hamburger and a student didn't need cheese. Maybe they had a dairy allergy, so you peel the cheese off. You would not remove that dairy protein by just peeling the cheese off. We would need another hamburger patty that had not come in contact with the dairy product, with the cheese. Another form of direct cross contact, maybe if you put shrimp in a salad and then just took the shrimp out. There may be still traces of that shrimp protein left on the bed of lettuce. Scraping peanut butter off a piece of bread will still have the allergen from that direct cross contact. We also want to be careful of indirect cross contact, using the same spatula that flipped the cheeseburger to flip a hamburger. Maybe an indirect form of cross contact. Not washing your hands after handling the shrimp to make the next salad. You may still have the shrimp proteins on your hands and then touch the lettuce. Even though the shrimp never touched the lettuce, the shrimp touched your hands and then your hands touched the lettuce. Wiping off and not properly cleaning a knife used to spread the peanut butter before using the knife to spread something else. Those are all different examples of direct and indirect cross contact. This picture can demonstrate either cross-contamination or cross-contact. The wait staff may not have washed their hands properly, and touching near the rim of the glass could contaminate the glass with bacteria or viruses, as well as the possibility of cross-contact with an allergen. Some tips to avoid cross-contact would be to use utensils, cutting boards, and pans that have been thoroughly washed with soap and water. Consider using separate utensils and dishes for making and serving safe foods. If you're making several foods, cook the allergy-safe foods first. Keep the safe foods covered and away from other foods that may splatter. If you make a mistake, you cannot just remove an allergen from a meal. Even a small amount of cross-contact makes a food unsafe. Wash your hands with soap and water before touching anything else if you've handled a food allergen. Soap and water or commercial wipes will remove a food allergen. Sanitizing gels or water alone will not remove an allergen. Scrub down counters and tables with soap and water after making meals. This concludes our allergy presentation. Most of the information provided with these slides came from the Food Allergy and Research Education website. This is an excellent website with many great resources on allergies. CDC has wonderful resources, as well as our NCDPI website. Thank you.